From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. I stole a stalk of celery from Pick and Save this week. Yeah, I'm a thief. I'm Jean Valjean. I was at the self-checkout, which I hate. One of the things I hate about self-checkout, well, one of the many things, it's not my job. It's just not my job. It's too much. It's one thing to pump my own gas. That I get. I kind of get that. I'm kind of okay with that. But it's way too complicated. Often, especially with produce, there'll be jumbo onions and red onions and sweet onions and organic onions, and sometimes I'm not exactly sure which onion I have. And they'll make me choose without really knowing. And they don't, at least where I shop, I don't know if this is true for you, when they give you the options, they don't put the price along with the option. I mean, because then I would just choose the cheapest option, and that's probably exactly why they don't tell me. So I try to, outguess them, because I honestly, sometimes I just don't know. And I'm not going to call the person over for every little thing. Well, okay, what happened this time, it was just yesterday, I had some celery in a bag, and the bag on it had printed the code, right? So I scanned the code. It doesn't work. It won't work. I just can't get it to work. I try several times until finally the screen, you lose your screen, and it says call attendant, and you hit the button, call attendant. And the attendant came over. Now, I'm not the kind of person, I'm not a Karen. I don't insist that, treat me like I have complete sympathy and empathy for people who hate their jobs. I totally get it. I'm on your side. There's no way I'm going to have a fight with some poor schlub. Can you imagine a worse job than that? Honestly, I can't. So I'm patient with these people. Now, that's my little disclaimer, because I was a little disappointed in her. So she comes over. She didn't respond to. I said call attendant on the thing, but nobody came. So she didn't respond to that, whatever electronic device she's carrying. I don't know. I had to kind of look up and wave her down. I'm holding the celery in my hand, and I'm waving at her with my celery. And so she comes over and doesn't say a word to me. Doesn't say hello, doesn't say what's the problem. I mean, not even hello, not even hey, not even what's up, nothing. Barely looks at me. In fact, I don't think she did look at me, except to notice I was waving my celery at her. So she comes over, doesn't look at me. Again, I'm not, this is not my biggest complaint. I mention it only because it just added to the frustration. And also, if she's listening, it would make your life a lot nicer. I know you hate your job, and I don't blame you. I'd hate that job too. I'm with you, sister. But if you have to be there, being friendly to me in that situation would have been nice for me, and it would have been nice for you. Research shows conclusively that those little micro, what do they call them? Micro relationships or I forgot the term. Micro interactions. Those little hello to a stranger kind of thing are the best indicator of a long and happy life. You just feel better, and you're literally healthier. You're happier and healthier if you're friendly to strangers and you just say hello, some weather, huh? Or, anything like that, to a complete stranger online with you at the store or at the pump and gas or wherever you are. So with that aside, done with. All right. So she comes over, doesn't smile, doesn't say hello, nothing. Goes straight to the screen. Boom, boom, boom. Clicks a couple things, whips out her card, scans it, hits another couple things, turns around without looking at me, walks away. And here I just still stand like an idiot with my celery in my hand. And I don't know what she's done. I don't know if she's entered in my celery. She didn't even seem to look at what I had. And so I kind of looked at the screen. I looked at my list, which was back up on there, and I didn't see any celery. I wasn't going to scan it again because I'd tried about 8 times and it didn't work. And whatever she pushed isn't going to make the thing read that code any better. So out of frustration and defiance, I just tossed it in my cart and walked out with it. I stole celery. The self-checkout, when it first happened, I thought, okay, well, yeah, this is just like pump your own gas. I'm old enough to remember when that was new, and some people were really upset about it. And I thought, well, okay, this is just the way the world works. I'm fine. But after experiencing it now for all this time, it really is horrible. It's a horrible experience. And yeah, it's not an age thing necessarily. I've seen some research on this. Everybody hates it. Everybody of all ages hates it. The only time, when it's finally going to work, when the world is going to work. Well, ultimately, everything is free. I mean, you know that, right? I'm a complete and total anarchist, and everything should be free all the time. Money doesn't exist as a concept. I have to remind you this once in a while. Ultimately, that's what we need, and the world would just work a lot better. But in the meantime, if we have to pay for things, I think it's best. We have the technology now. I'm not sure why every single store in the world doesn't do this. Just automatically charge my account when I take something out of the store. You got sensors, you got barcodes, and there are a couple of examples of this. I think which store did it? I forget which one. But there have been a couple sort of prototypes of this. And the technology is really simple. Everything has a little sort of sensor. And there's some sort of 1984 Brave New World problems with that. And I agree. Again, it's only a solution for a world that still demands that we pay money to live on the planet. It's 100% screwed up, and that's why I'm an anarchist. So anyway, I stole celery. I'll be on the run now for the rest of my life, and I'll sing French epic anthems. Also, a little personal news: I bought Sling TV for a month to watch the NBA playoffs. I do it once a year. I buy Sling for a month because they let you do it. They let you buy it for a month and then cancel. And as you know, I don't have any streaming services at all. I don't believe in them. It's a bunch of garbage. There's a million times more content you can have for free than you're ever going to get to in your life. Why anybody pays for this stuff is completely beyond me. I don't understand. I don't understand you people. I'm the alien in this situation. You know that thing where that exercise that your professor will say, or your high school teacher will say, imagine that an alien comes down and you have to explain XYZ, some concept that we have as humans or Americans. Explain it as you would explain it to an alien, a Martian who's never heard of this. You've heard that exercise, right? It's a good little exercise. So think of me as the alien. Explain this to me. Explain this to me how anybody, and you all do it. You all do it. And I don't understand. Why in the hell do you pay for this crap? My God, I don't care if you... It's just amazing to me. I don't understand you. Explain it to me like I'm a Martian, please. Why anybody pays for content. It's crazy to me. So I paid for content. I paid for... because I want to watch basketball for the month. That I get. That I understand. But the reason I bring it up, this is the third year I've done this now. And every time I do it, okay, I've got Sling now. I've got Sling TV. Well, I can't help it. I'm curious. I flip around. I go to the guide, I go to the program guide. I see what's on. Just curious. I don't get Sling normally. Oh, Lord mercy. It just reinforces my decision every time to not pay for this stuff. What a vast wasteland. My goodness. So I go to the one thing I think I can sort of stomach, and it's CNN. I was able to check and check and see what CNN is up to, because I don't watch CNN. And it was the Trump trial, the hush money trial, all day. Just blanket coverage, complete, nothing else, everything else ignored. Wall to wall, every program, every minute of every program. Crazy. Yeah, I don't get it. I don't understand. When it's a pretty busy news week. There's a lot going on. And yeah, of course, the hush money trial is part of the news. It's important, I guess. But wall to wall at the exclusion of literally every other story on the planet? Explain this to me like I'm a Martian. Good Lord. Well, okay. I take that back. I mean, you don't have to explain this to me. Of course, it gets eyeballs, and that's all they care about, because we live in a world that's run by money. And so it's totally logical. It makes perfect sense. In this case, you don't have to explain it to me like I'm a Martian, because I absolutely understand. Everything comes down to money. They want eyeballs. They want viewers. They know this is going to get them. This is going to keep them. And rather than talk about Earth Week, rather than talk about the new American Climate Corps jobs that Biden just announced, rather than talking about that Haiti is literally on fire, rather than talk about all the SCOTUS hearings this week, the Supreme Court's having a very busy week, just toss all that aside, because we won't get the eyeballs that the Orange Menace will get us. So, the world lives on money. CNN has no other mission statement except to increase its bottom line. You think CNN... I'd have to look it up. I'm sure, every corporation, every organization, everybody has a mission statement. I wonder what CNN's mission statement is. If it has anything to do with providing news that's important to the American public, well, then that's just a laughable lie. They just do what the bottom line dictates, and that's all they do, because the world is run by money, and that's why I'm an anarchist, and that's why money has to be abolished. Good Lord. Yeah. So, I have Sling, so I'm curious. I look around, CNN, that's all they're doing. Okay. Quick follow-up from last week, because we talked about Mike Johnson in over his head as Speaker of the House, and lo and behold, he gets the job done, and everybody's singing his praises like 2 days after you and I talked. He got the bills passed. Aid to Israel, aid to Ukraine, aid to Taiwan and the Indochina area generally. Yeah, he did it. He got it done, despite the opposition of the Marjorie Taylor Greene caucus and the Putin caucus in Congress, who just want to let Ukraine die. Yeah, he got it done. What do you know? Goes over to the Senate. They repackage it into a one signature deal for the president. He signs it. Boom, boom, boom. So it's about $61 billion roughly to Ukraine, and that's getting right on the airplanes and the boats, and it's just heading over right away. It's getting right on the air. I just said boats. I'm catching myself recently with my Wisconsin accent. It's coming out on words like boat. If I start speaking naturally or quickly, it comes out boat. I just caught myself doing it again. I started. I don't know if you caught that. Did you catch that? I started to re-say it, thinking I'd go back later and edit, and I thought, nah, I'll let that one go, and I'll cop to it. A boot. It's a boot time. I do. The ships and the planes are headed over as we speak. They're getting the munitions to Ukraine, and they still have a chance, they tell us, of winning this war. And as you know, I am not the 100% pacifist I used to be. I believe in defense. I believe when you're being invaded by a larger nation and when you're being attacked and abused, you have the right to defend yourself. And so I'm not the pacifist I used to be. So I'm okay with this. I am okay with this. $95 billion package, approximately total. $61 billion going to Ukraine. About $26 billion going to Israel. $9 billion of that approximately going to Gaza aid, and the rest going to Israeli bombs, I guess. So that's a little weird. Uh, yeah. Yeah, we talked about this last week. So even though I'm not a full-blown pacifist, I understand who the aggressor is and who the oppressed are. And Israel is the aggressor. They're the war criminals. They're the genocidal war criminals. There's no contest to be had about this. So there was no vetoing that aid. It was still very popular among most in Congress. And again, it was part of the package. They took the 4 separate bills, packaged them into one deal for Biden's signature. About $8 billion to Taiwan and Indochina. And then squeezed in there also, I don't know who decided this, the TikTok bill, which, as you know, or maybe you don't know, they had hearings a couple weeks ago in Congress, and there's a big deal, and Congress decided that TikTok has to be sold, and if they're not sold, they will be banned. TikTok will be banned. So TikTok is currently owned by a Chinese company called ByteDance, and they have to divest themselves of TikTok. They have to find a buyer. They got like a year to do it. So that's law now. The clock is ticking on TikTok. If they don't find a buyer, they'll be banned. But a whole year to get it done. I imagine something will get done. They'll find the guys with all the money figure these things out. Now, in a world that actually made sense, TikTok and all social media would be publicly owned, or at least owned by its users. Yeah, these billionaire tech guys. You really, if we were starting from scratch, would you look around the world and you'd pick out Mark Zuckerberg and Elon Musk to run these places? Would you choose a company that's fully owned by the Chinese Communist Party? I mean, none of this makes any damn sense. So I'm fine with this bill. I know TikTok people are just out of their minds about this, but I'm fine with it. Again, there are the real solutions that I have, and I just wish people would listen to me earlier in the process, because we eventually get there. I don't know. But then there are solutions that in the real world we live in now, where money is a thing and private ownership is a thing. Yeah, this is the only solution, so I'm okay with it. Okay, SCOTUS is really busy this week. I got to talk about this. The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals said in a decision last year that homeless camping bans, you can't ban homeless camping, it amounts to cruel and unusual punishment under the Eighth Amendment. So the Ninth Circuit of Appeals has already ruled against a town called Grants Pass, Oregon, who are criminalizing homelessness, basically. Now, there are 3 or 4 different cases they're taking oral arguments this week. But the one common denominator is that I want to make clear, that the reason I'm bringing these up, the Supreme Court chooses the cases it takes. It doesn't have to take any case it doesn't want to take. They choose. They alone choose. Nobody tells them to take a case. Nobody makes them take a case. The law doesn't demand that they take any cases. There's nothing in the Constitution that defines what kind of case you have to take. No, they have the complete and full discretion whether or not to take a case. And this criminalizing homelessness, which is nuts, has already been decided by the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals against the town of Grants Pass, Oregon, and in favor of these poor homeless folks. And just to show you how kind of weird this is, it comes down to an argument of status versus conduct. And there are different ways the law can do this. Status meaning you're a homeless person and that's why we're coming after you. You can't do that. Or rather, conduct, in this case defined as sleeping in public. Well, Justice Coney Barrett, reading from, what am I reading from? The news. I forget, NPR, I guess. Justice Amy Coney Barrett worried about where to draw the line, wondering aloud whether the Eighth Amendment could reasonably be invoked to prohibit punishment for hungry people who steal food or engage in other behaviors necessary for survival. Quote, how do we draw these difficult lines about, public urination and those sorts of things? You hear how Dickensian this is? She's worried that if we allow sleeping in public, well, then maybe we should allow hungry people to steal food. Well, yeah, we should allow hungry people to steal food. That's the whole point. At least that's my whole point. The world has gone crazy. If you can't afford food, steal it. Good Lord. The total moral bankruptcy of these people. Alito's all concerned about, well, what are cops supposed to do? Because there was this argument about, well, if there are beds available in shelters, well, then people should go to the beds. And then if they refuse to go to the beds, then they should be arrested. But how do you know how many beds are available or what their reasons are for not wanting to go? Some of these homeless people in Grants Pass said, well, this is my town. I've lived here all my life. I don't want to go 20 miles away to another town. And so it gets very complicated. But Alito is saying, well, what are the police officers supposed to do? Count the number of people who are getting ready to sleep outside for the night and then ask each one of them whether they tried to find a bed at a shelter? It's like, okay, this is why the defund the police people made so much sense. Of course a police officer didn't have to do that. This should never get to the point of a police officer even being involved. These are not crimes. These are people who need help. They need a fucking place to sleep. My God, what is wrong with this country? This is nuts. Another case they're hearing arguments about this week, union busting. Starbucks has been really horrible about capitulating to the demands of workers who have won their fight. They've decided to unionize legally. They've formed a union. They've joined unions, Starbucks baristas. And Starbucks management has been just slow rolling this for a couple of years now. Well, this week the Supreme Court heard a case about whether a lower court erred in ordering Starbucks to reinstate this striking worker and his coworkers, known as the Memphis 7 or something like that. So what happened was the workers were talking about unionizing, and then boom, all of a sudden 7 of them are fired. And it goes to court, and the court decides that, okay, you can't fire these workers. You have to at least reinstate them while we're looking at all the legalities of this. I'll be honest, I'm not sure about this case very well. That's why I'm not describing it very well. But this part I know for sure. A lower court sided with the workers. And that's what's being challenged at the Supreme Court. And once again, as I said, the Supreme Court decides which cases to take. They don't have to take cases. They can just let the current ruling stand. And the current ruling stood for the workers in this case. So, of course, the Supreme Court of the United States has to take it because, God forbid, 7 workers win out legally over Starbucks. And so after oral arguments, it looks like, they can usually sort of tell, not always, but people in the room are saying, yeah, SCOTUS is leaning pretty heavily in favor of Starbucks. Speaking of unionizing, Tennessee, a Volkswagen plant in Tennessee has unionized. That's a big deal. And then one more SCOTUS thing on abortion. And it's the exact same thing once again. They didn't have to take it, but they did because they're throwing a bone to the crazy anti-abortion people. In this case, it involves the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act, EMTALA. It's a federal law. It requires hospitals that participate in Medicare to stabilize patients facing an emergency medical condition. And so the big question is, well, does that include abortion? Well, of course it does. Abortion is a medical procedure. It's a healthcare issue. And that's exactly what the Biden administration has argued. In some cases, that treatment's going to be abortion. But then after Roe went down and it goes to the states, the feds tried to clarify this with hospitals saying, look, if your state law, because these crazy 19th century state laws went into effect, if your state law prohibits abortion, then this federal law supersedes your law. And there's the fight. So now Idaho is saying, no abortions at all. The woman has to be literally on her deathbed. She has to be in the throes of dying before, and there have been cases, just heartbreaking cases, where this has happened. So under Idaho's law, doctors are refusing treatment because they're afraid of spending 5 years in jail. It's a felony with a 5-year prison sentence. And so they don't know what the hell to do. This is crazy. The world is crazy. Idaho, what are you doing? And again, just to wrap this up, Supreme Court chose to take this up. The prior ruling, the one they're challenging, already favored the federal law. Let me read here. Soon after the Biden administration issued its guidance to hospitals regarding the stabilizing care that EMTALA requires, EMTALA is the federal law, it sued Idaho, arguing its abortion ban is preempted by the federal law. A federal district court in Idaho sided with the federal government and allowed physicians to perform abortions in certain emergency situations. In other words, the standing law, the standing court decision settled it in favor of the federal law. The Supreme Court of the United States did not have to take this case. They don't have to take any case. But this one and the other couple we talked about are all challenging standing decisions that were decided correctly, in my view. And if you want to take my view, just generally for people, for individual rights, for workers over corporations, for women over male lawmakers, for homeless people over conservative town politicians. Yeah, they didn't have to take any of these cases, but they decided to. That's who they are. That's what this court is now. All right. So what we didn't get to this week, but I promise you I'm thinking about a lot, Gaza, Israel, and this week especially, the big turn in the news regarding the protests. And I have lots of thoughts on this. And they'll have to wait for another time because we're out of time. I can tell you I'm on the side of the protesters. The weaponization of anti-Semitism has reached full McCarthy-era tactics. It's really pretty disgusting how they're weaponizing anti-Semitism and they're labeling people. So I'm 100% with the protesters. I can't find any nuance in this at all. I'm 100% against the crackdown of these protests, calling in the police, calling in the National Guard, and especially this cynical, bogus, McCarthyite exploitation of so-called anti-Semitism. So we'll see what happens this week, and if I feel it's necessary to come back and talk in detail about this, I'll do that. All right, there you go. That's it for this week. Find this episode and all other episodes of The Log and all the other titles, the podcasts we do. Just go to Charles Purcell on your favorite podcast platform. Or go to the website, charlespurcell.com. Everything is there. All the shows, all the links. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio, riverwestradio.com. Follow on Facebook. Write to me, charlespurcell@gmail.com. And thanks to Peter Donalds, who wrote and performed the theme song. All right, that's it. See ya.